Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Tactical Baby Gear podcast. My name is Beav Brody, and today Alex and I are here together back in the office, home from Salt Lake City, and it feels good. In this episode, we talked about the unfortunate circumstance of having to put our dog down and how I dealt with that with the girls and the explanation and all the awkwardness that goes on there. We also talked about following through with your kids on the good, the bad, and the ugly. Promises all the way through to reprimanding them for things like, but following through with that. And we talked about food, kids eating. We mentioned pizza. It's a good episode. There's some good stuff happening in here. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Want to hear a joke about construction?
No.
Good, because I'm still working on it. Story of our life right now.
Yes.
What's up, everyone? Dude, it feels so good to be back home. The last few episodes you guys heard have come from Salt Lake City, Utah, where we were on the road for a while and recorded several podcasts. How about the wife spot?
Hilarious.
So funny.
So real. That's real life right there. That is real life.
So viral. It was hilarious. But anyways, back to construction. It's like the story of our life right now. Like, we're still trying to finish building out the rest of the office space next door. I've been working on the deck at my house, which if you guys follow on Instagram, I keep poking the bear at Manspot and BC Timbers because they're building a deck at Manspot's house. So I'm like, turned it into a competition.
It's always about who's got a bigger deck, right?
It's all about the bigger deck, you know? You know what, though? I think he's going to have more square footage than me in deck. But it's how you but it's the purpose of how you're going to use the deck, right? It's how you use the deck, not the size of the deck.
Exactly. If you got I'm feeling very 8 right now.
Anyways, but
enough deck jokes.
But here's the thing: it's like we've got all these projects. Like even Friday, I guess, was anybody there? No one was there Friday. Like all these projects going on, and no one is working at any of these places to get anything done. It gives me anxiety. I know that you're dying inside.
I'm always dying inside. Like every hour, like you got to be like moving the needle.
I know. It's tough because we've got deadlines to be in that space so we can get out of another space. And we've had to already extend that lease a little bit because this is behind, and it's just one thing after another.
But a lot of things, it's just like life is just out of your control. Like in this case, an inspector wants different colored tape, and you're like, but it's the same tape. But, just little things where you're like, all right, I'll be back next week. You're like, well, we're going to do nothing for a week while we tape this up in 20 minutes. But so it's always something. Yeah, it's something out of your control. If you've ever done a construction project by the book with permits and inspectors the right way, you know how much it sucks. It's so frustrating. It's always something.
Speaking of things being out of control and you dying inside, we had to put our dog down last week. The kids, that was an interesting sequence of events. So I've got this dog. Let's give you guys the backstory so you understand this dog situation. I found this dog on the side of the road in 2003, maybe early 2004. She was a puppy. She almost got hit by an 18-wheeler, and I went and picked her up off the side of the road, and we were at my friend's aunt's house, out in the country. This is 45 minutes from here. It's this little house in the woods on the side of a main highway in the country.
Right.
And here's this little puppy, almost gets hit by an 18-wheeler. So go grab this.
Did you see that?
I saw that.
Okay.
I saw, because when we got there, the puppy was running around, and then it was out by the street, and I was keeping an eye on it, and this truck just, whoa. I was like, oh, dang. I was like, let me go get that little puppy out. So I grab the puppy, I take it back into the yard, and I asked my buddy's aunt, I'm like, hey, whose dog is this? Almost got hit by a car or by a truck. And she's like, I don't know whose dog that is. It's been running around here for weeks. I'll wrap that thing up. You take it home with you. And I was dying. And I'm like, no. Let's, she's like, no, I'm going to wrap it up and take it home. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll take the dog back to Hilton Head, to the Humane Society. I'll find it a home. I was living in an apartment at the time. And I had no interest in having a dog. And this was over the weekend. It was a Saturday or something. Yeah. And Sunday, the Humane Society's closed. So then I was like, all right, Monday morning, I'll call my work and be like, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'll be late this morning. Well, so I spent the weekend with this dog and like fell in love with it. I was like, all right, I'm keeping this dog. It's cool. She was really cool. She was this cute little puppy. So I kept her.
Do you know?
She's a mutt. She's like this like lab German Shepherd pit bull mutt thing, which is why she lived 1,000 years, because she's a mutt. And so I don't know, 15 years goes by or so, and I'm like, man, she's starting to finally get old. Like, she acted like a puppy the entire time. She was always into something, always running around, all the energy, barking and everything. She just would not get old until she hit about 15. And then she started to get old. And then I'd have Matt watch the dogs from time to time. And I'd be like, hey, dude, like, I think Moxie's about there. And then like another 2 years, like then as soon as I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna have to put her down, or she's on her last legs, she like springs back up and she's good to go for like another 1.5 years, 2 years. I'm like, what the hell's going on? This dog is, and then my other dog starting to like show signs of getting old, and he's like 9. And I'm like, dang, Moxie's gonna outlive Hans. I'm like, holy cow. And then she finally, so she gets really sick. This is a week ago now or so. We noticed, we're like, man, Moxie just threw up. Clean that up. Later that day, Moxie throws up again. Like, clean that up. We're like, oh geez, here we go. Throws up again. So like she throws up like multiple times a day for like 2 days, thinking like she ate something funny. There's like mushrooms growing in the yard. Like, it's just, did she get into something? There's construction going on at the house. Like, what's going on? Thinking it's just a bug. And then she just started going downhill, like over like 4, and was like, all right, we'll get her to the vet on Monday when they're open again. By Monday, she couldn't stand up on her own. She wasn't eating. She wasn't drinking. I had to like pick her up to move her, and I'd like set her back down on her paws, and her legs would just like slide out from under her, and she'd just fall to the ground. She couldn't barely pick up her head, had no energy. Before, she couldn't stand up on her own. She would stand up and she would just have this dead blank stare and just like stare at you. And then she would kind of like snap into it for a second and take like 2 steps and then just kind of stop and stare. And then kind of moving. I was like, well, that's not good. Definitely need to get her to the vet.
Because wasn't it just like a few months ago that you took?
I took her to the vet.
And the vet's like, this dog is.
Yeah, she had this like weird, like, like dogs when they lay on their elbows all the time, they get that like raw spot on their elbows, right? Well, this one on her one elbow had like gotten really big and swollen and was like, had a lot of fluid in it. And I was like, oh man, this thing's going to rupture and be all nasty. And it's going to get all over my carpet. It's going to be gross. Well, the next morning, this was like in the evening, we noticed that. So I'm like, all right, taking the dog to the vet in the morning. So I call the vet in the morning. I'm like, hey, this dog's got this big thing. It's like a hematoma, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, bring her in. So I bring her in. And I'm like, hey, this dog's like 1 billion years old. He's like, this dog looks great. He's like, I wouldn't, the thing in her elbow, like that's just fluid. He's like, you can tell, and it had already shrunk down. It was almost, it was just like, now it's just like, it was just like extra skin. It was loose skin, but not full of fluid anymore. He's like, that's just from her joints because she is so old, and it had kind of gone out into this pocket and had gone back in. He's like, it may kind of come and go, but there's really nothing. Like, I could drain it, but it would just come back probably. So he's like, don't worry about it. I was like, okay. He's like, otherwise the dog looks great. And yeah, that was like, 3 or 4 weeks. It wasn't that long ago. Oh, okay. Maybe 6 weeks ago at the most. I don't know. It wasn't that long ago. But anyway, so like she's throwing up over the weekend and all this stuff. So then Sunday night, I'm knowing how bad she's getting, and that I'm going to take the dog to the vet Monday. So we sit down, family dinner with the kids, and I'm like, hey, you guys, we need to talk about Moxie. Like, they're obviously aware of the fact that she's throwing up and all these things. And I'm like, we need to take her to the vet. But to be honest, like, Moxie's really old. We've had this conversation with them so many times, because so many times you're like, all right, this is the end. And then she's like alive and well the next day. I'm like, all right. So they had kind of heard about Moxie getting old and maybe not being around for too long for a while. And then that Monday finally comes, and I make the appointment for after school, because Kendall, the youngest one, who's 5, is like, she's morbid, dude. She is obsessed with death in like the weirdest way. Like, when my grandmother passed away, all she did was talk about how Nana died and Nana dead this and dead that. And like, she was only like 3 at the time, but she would not stop talking about it. Well, so then here comes Moxie, and she's like, no, I want to go. I want to be there. And I'm like, I don't know that you really want to be a part of that, And she was like, insisted on it. So then when we talked to the vet about it, I was like, all right, well, you guys are I'll at least let them come to the vet's office with us. If we decide that that's where it's, because it may just be like, oh, she sick,
ate something bad. Yeah,
here's some medicine, she'll be fine tomorrow. then it's like no big deal. We're like, all right, well, let's let the kids come to the vet. And then if we decide we're going to put her down, like we ended up getting my mom to come too, so that she could take the kids out into the parking lot, hang out in the car for a few minutes, whatever. Yeah. But Kendall still was like, no, I want to be there. I'm like, dang, this kid's gangster, dude. Like gangster. Cameron, she's like, she knew she didn't want nothing to do with that. She's sensitive. She's like, nope. I don't want any part of that.
I'll give this dog a hug and a kiss and be out in the parking lot.
Yeah, but she was like, she didn't even want to come into the vet's office. She just stayed outside with my mom, which was cool. I'm glad my mom was able to do that.
Yeah.
But we're like, so like, listen, Moxie's going to come to the vet. You know, we may have to. I don't remember how we said it. We were like, the doctor, we may have to let Moxie go to doggy heaven. Or something along those lines. We weren't like put her down, put her to sleep, because then it wouldn't register to them, you know, like that she might go to doggy heaven tomorrow because, you know, we may just have to let that happen. She's old, yada, yada, yada. And so she decides she wants to go. We get there. The vet's like, listen, she's probably got a tumor in her stomach. Like if there is a tumor in their stomach and we do an x-ray and we find a tumor, there's really nothing, you're not going to do anything about it. If you find out she doesn't have a tumor in her stomach and she's just old and sick, like that's kind of still the same outcome. Like you're not going to do anything about it. You know, she's like, the dog's 17 years old. The quality of life sucks. You're having to pick the dog up, carry the dog. It's throwing up all over, like it's, you know,
the end is here.
Yeah. Like, and he wasn't trying to convince me. I told them when I called, I was like, I'm afraid we may have to put her down, but I'll let you guys help me make that decision and find out if that's the right thing to do. So he was like on board with that's the best thing to do. So we went to the next room. They kind of prepared the dog, put an IV in her. And have you ever had to put a dog down?
No. Well,
it sucks, dude.
My dad has.
Yeah.
I like.
You haven't been there and like
hadn't
it's terrible. It's terrible. Like this time around wasn't so bad for me. The first time around was with a dog I grew up with, Ranger. I've got his tattoo on my arm. I'll explain this tattoo in a second, but I've got a paw print on my wrist here that says Ranger, and everyone thinks I was an Army Ranger. I was not in the military at all, so that's what throws off a lot of people from time to time, and I didn't think about it when I got this tattoo, because this was like so many. Military stuff hadn't even crossed my mind, I don't think it at any point, but like I got this big banner. It looks like a Ranger tab, but anyway, so it says Ranger on my wrist and with over a paw print. But anyways, it sucks, man, to like, there's, you know, so they bring him in, they prepare him, they put the dog on the floor. These are bigger dogs. They don't really just lay on the table very well. Bigger dogs laying on the floor on a towel, make them nice and comfy. They've got an IV in their arm, and then you can you spend some time with them, do whatever you want to do, give them hugs and kisses and tell them you love them and all these things. And then they start injecting it's a series of like 3 shots into this IV thing. And the first one I think is just an anesthetic that just kind of starts numbing them. And then the second one really makes them sleepy. And then the third one like really puts it to bed. Right. And it just sucks to kind of see them lay there and then the life just start to like
exit,
you know what I mean? As they quit moving. Like she wasn't really moving anyway. She was pretty bad, but you know, and then you realize that their eyes aren't looking around anymore and that nothing's happening. So both times I've like closed their eyes because I just didn't want, I hate like that open eye. I'm a dead dog with open eyes staring at you and it's just creepy. So I'm like, let's just close these eyes. And Kendall's like, she was tearing up and she was gangster, dude. She's awesome. Brandy was a mess, as you can imagine, which I don't blame her for. And you know, I was shedding some tears and I had accepted this like years ago. It hadn't hit me as much. And this sounds really bad. I'm going to say it anyways, but like I was ready for her to go. She'd become such a problem. I hate to say a problem, high maintenance. It was constantly something. She's getting old. It was time. And it was a weight off of my shoulders because I was constantly having to throw up or clean up the throw up or
then you
hear about Brandy was
the
quality of life. She's just almost waiting to die. And it was just like, so I had come to terms with this years ago when I thought I was gonna have to put her down. So then it was just like the last 2 years were kind of a bonus life for her. And I was not shocked that I was gonna have to do it. She'd been around for so long. And it was, you know, then the memories start to play through of she was there when I brought both kids home from the hospital and she's lived in all the houses I've ever lived in. She's been there and like all those things. You're like, man, it's kind of bittersweet, but it was cool.
But Kendall was just like,
Kendall was gangster, dude. She's like tearing up, but she still. What came later is what really sucked and where it really hurt as a parent, because I don't think she fully realized what was happening, because we were like, the doctor's going to give her medicine, it's going to make her go to sleep, and then she's going to go to doggy heaven. Well, then later that night, we're getting ready for bed, and it starts to finally click with them that like Moxie's not here anymore. Usually Moxie's in the room during bedtime routines and all these things, and then they start crying and they're getting upset, and then they start breaking down, and then it's like, well, can we go back to the vet's office and see Moxie? She's still there. I'm like, no, like we left her there so that they could give us the ashes back. What do you call that? Cremate. Sorry. Looking for my big words. So we left her there so they could cremate her and all that stuff. But like, can we go back and see Moxie again? I'm like, no, Moxie's not there anymore. Like, well, can she still breathe? I'm like, oh God. Like, that's where it starts to suck. You're like, how do I explain this? This is awful. Sorry, my voice, I had like a allergy issue, so my voice is like crazy. I'll apologize now. So anyways, they're like, can Moxie breathe? Is she still there? All these things. I'm like, oh man, how do I explain this? This just starts to get weird. And then you're sad because they're upset. And I'm like, it's like, Moxie's gone, girls. Like, she's not coming back. She's not here anymore.
Finality to this one.
Yeah. So I'm like, she's dead, and that's, how do you tell these kids that? And like, you just have to give it to them up front and break their heart, and it'll make them better in the long run. But it's tough, man. Like that, dealing with it with the kids was harder for me than putting the dog down.
Right.
I think because I had accepted it so long ago. So I was like, damn it. How this,
well, again, like
this sucks.
You're not going to just BS your way around it with your children, but you got to present it in such a way that their brain
they're fragile,
comprehends.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, you don't want to just discount death and be like, oh, well, she's just dead, that. And like, I think the way you present it to them that way would suck. It's just like, that's why I decided to kind of use like, well, she's in doggy heaven. Like, they know that when you die, you go to heaven. So I'm like, all right, they'll piece this together, so I don't have to be so like harsh about the way I say it, so it doesn't like shock them. But eventually it's just like,
but yet
you end up having to tell them.
They get the life lesson from it of.
Yeah. So I was like, so then I was like, well, every time, they're like, we miss Moxie. I'm like, well, every time you miss Moxie, you go give Hans a hug, show him some extra love, because he ain't going to be around forever either. Like, he's getting old. His hearing's going. Like, a 9-year-old German Shepherd is a pretty old German Shepherd.
Really?
Yeah.
How old do they normally
Actually,
live?
I think he's 10. 11 or 12 is the average lifespan.
Really?
So he's at the end.
That was our first dog growing up.
German Shepherd?
German Shepherd.
They're awesome dogs.
Yeah, we had a German Shepherd. Then we got a mutt mix of some. We called him. The next dog was Simba. Literally looked like a little like a lion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then Black Labs.
You gotta hear this one. Kendall goes, well, when Moxie goes to heaven, can we get another pet? And like, that was her. I was like, no. Brandy wants a donkey. She's obsessed.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, no.
You caught me completely off guard here.
Yeah. I'm like,
okay,
no. Well, she grew up in the Virgin Islands, and they would just ride donkeys around. So, and she's just obsessed with donkeys. I'm like, no. She's like, but we have a big enough yard. I'm like, no.
We're just gonna ride a donkey around the yard.
I could see like where we live.
Trading
like,
your golf cart.
It wouldn't be abnormal on my street to have someone riding a donkey like down to Bolden's house.
No, completely wouldn't catch anyone off guard.
No, be like, oh, that's pretty normal for this neighborhood. Your neighborhood might look at me funny.
Probably. I mean, it'd be like, oh, those crazy people down the street.
Crazy people down there. Yeah.
No.
But I want to.
Come on.
They're low maintenance. That's the thing. They're like these crazy. Anyways, I have zero interest in it. She keeps trying to convince me, and I'm like, no. I want to take a break from pets for a while. I want to be able to travel without having to worry about who's watching the dogs or this or that. And like, give me some time. Like, let's do some things. Like, it's like.
Well, I mean, you're getting extremely busy with obviously all the sports and everything else.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm constantly having to get Matt to like come take care of the dogs. And that sucks for him because he's got things to do too.
Yeah.
You know?
Thankfully he'll do it for you.
Yeah. I give him a few bucks and make it worth his time, but still. So, anyways,
Yeah, that was our
pets
decision
are-
way back in the day. Like, granted, my wife didn't grow up. They had a cat, but like they trained this to be like an outside cat. It was like,
Yeah.
fend for yourself, and then come here, and we'll give you some
Give you
food
some
and
food.
water, and
Yeah.
you'll hang out by the pool, and then like, but the cat would be like hanging out during the hurricane. Like, comes back later, you're like, oh, well, still here.
Yeah.
Like, but they didn't grow up with animals. Obviously, we grew up with a dog, but I was like, if I'm gonna have to take care of something, might as well just be a human.
Yeah. And it didn't bother me for a long time because I knew I couldn't travel when I was younger and I had the car shop. I was like, well, if I'm not at home in the shop working, I can't make money. So I was like, my plans to travel, like I knew I would take vacations or whatever, like to deal with it then, but my plans of traveling when I was younger just didn't exist. So, and I love dogs. I grew up with dogs. I've always had a dog. I had multiple dogs then. At one point I had 3 dogs. I had Hans, Moxie, and Zuri. And when we had Kendall, it was like, all right, I don't need 2 kids, 3 dogs, cat, all this shit. I was like, forget about it. So I was like, yo, Trav, you want to take Zuri? Like, would you please take Zuri? He's like, I love Zuri, you know? So
Zuri's in the office.
Zuri's in the
holding it
office
down.
every day anyways now, which is good to see her. She's a great dog.
Yeah, she looks extremely intimidating, but a complete like pushover. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. She's awesome. Another German Shepherd. And, but yeah, so then as we started this business and it started to take off and it was like, wow, here's an internet-based business where I can literally work from my laptop and an internet connection from anywhere in the world, essentially. And we've done it. I mean, we've traveled all over the world, you and I, and been able to work and not really skip a beat. And I was like, dang, like as my kids get older and as we have more opportunities to travel, and like my aunt has a house in Scotland and all these things, like I'd love to go. I could literally go live for a month in Scotland during the summer when the kids are out of school, but that's way harder to do when you got pets at home to deal with and take care of, and someone's got to, so like, I just want to break from the pets for a while. I feel like that sounds insensitive, but I feel like it's super practical.
I mean, look at me. It was like, yeah, no pets, humans. I mean, I love dogs, but like, I don't want to take care of them anymore.
Nah, it weighs on you. And then especially once you have kids and then the focus kind of shifts to dealing with the kids and the dogs, or pets, I should say, get neglected a little bit. I feel like maybe not in all cases. It definitely happened in our case. Like, I feel like I definitely neglected the dogs a little bit once we had kids, because it was like, I got to feed the kids. I got to do this. They got to go to soccer. They got to do this. And then the dogs were just left at home. And I used to take the dogs out all the time. Well, Hans I can't take out, but Moxie on the boat, at the bar, Like you go to the bar out on the water and it's like, bring the dog. Kind of like TJ and Slater. Yeah. That dog's everywhere. TJ Hefner. That his dog is always with him everywhere. That was me and Moxie, always, until I had kids. And then it was like, dog staying at home. So
I mean, with all the stuff that you bring, like with a kid, just piles into your home. It's like,
yeah.
I was like, well, and especially with bringing 2 home.
Yeah.
I was like, twice as many, car seats, twice as many, just everything.
Yeah, everything.
So I was trying to think of my big words. I was like, what was that device you put them in when you want to feed them?
Well, not only that, but
high chair.
Yeah, well, here's the other side of it too, is just like I don't want to say cleanliness, but you got kids rolling around on the floor that dogs are walking on and rolling around on, and dog hair and all. And it just gets to be overwhelming.
And I got allergies to some extent too.
Right.
So it's like, for me, it's like, let me just not add that to my life.
I mean, I got kids to clean up after, and then you're cleaning up after dogs. And it's like, I vacuum my house twice a day and there's still like dog hair just like tumbling down the hardwood floors. And anybody with a dog relates to that. They're like, it sucks.
The challenge now has been for me is like, I've been trying to expose my kids to dogs so they're not completely like
scared and
afraid of them, but yet know like, well, some dogs you don't just run up to, so I'm trying to been balancing that. So my kids are much more timid around animals, which I never was growing up, but yet I'll try to expose them when I can, but I'm also like, I'm not trying to teach them that. I'd rather than be more timid of a dog than have one in my home. So we'll just cross that bridge, and that life experience will happen at some point, because we're around so many animals, but not going to bring them in my home. Yeah. Then we brought the 3rd one home, and I was like, definitely no animals.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at in life. We just had to put our poor dog down, and the kids were... Kendall was gangster about it. They're heartbroken. They're still... And then we got Moxie's ashes back the other day. And Kendall's like... It's a little like urn, like a wooden... It looks like a little coffin, And it seems to be sealed shut. Like Kendall was trying to open it, and I was like, "No, stop! I do not need ashes spread around my house." Well, and then try to explain that to them. They're like, "What do you mean ashes?" And I'm like, "So basically, they burned the dog, you know." And I'm like,
put it in a big oven.
It's like, how do you explain that without them being like, dude, the whole thing is just bonkers.
That's a very interesting concept to try to like explain to a very young mind.
Mm-hmm. If anyone has a good way to explain that.
In general, it's just a kind of like,
well,
no matter your age, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you start to think about it, you're like, ugh. Who was telling me something about the carbon footprint of that? Who was telling me that? Ryan, was that you? I was talking about this with someone. They said that the energy and the fuel that it takes to burn a body is greater than I think it was John at the gym. Anyways, somebody was talking about the carbon footprint of what it takes to actually do that. And that was fascinating. I'm like, holy shit.
You know, I was reading something.
Or that versus burying them in the ground. Like there's one of them's ridiculously bad for the environment. Apparently, this is just hearsay and probably headline reading, I'm sure. But
yeah, well, I was reading some headline. I guess there's a few states or counties in different states that are starting to ban like propane in your home for like cooking with, because you got I guess the way you extract the propane or the methane gas from methane. Yeah. From the earth has to do with is more impactful on the environment than like an electric stovetop. And how that's generated. Because
the propane thing kind of freaks me out. Like I get the benefit of it. It's fantastic and it's hot and it's consistent and it's fantastic. But with kids, it freaks me out because if they bump the thing and turn it on and like that happened in Utah at the rental house. We had all these people
because
and we kept leaning
on the my knobs are on
the top. Like you lean against it, and all of a sudden the freaking thing's on, and I'm like, "Whoa, shit!" You know?
Yeah.
It freaks me out.
Man, I hear you on that. That's just one thing. Now that my kids are getting older, and like it's always been like you just don't reach for things on the counter. As soon as they do, it's just like, nope, stop it. You don't reach for things because you got the cutting board and you just cut up an apple. You got this sharp, like we have these like fancy knives we got for I think our anniversary or wedding present, like some Japanese.
I got the same ones.
Like
they're awesome. And sharp.
Oh god, they're fantastic. Though like you got to be so careful on like you cut and then like there's the tip of your finger. You're like you don't even feel it.
I have a cut on my finger right here from the bread knife.
Dude, that thing is
gangster.
Dude, I love.
I got that same. I think you turned me onto those.
I did. I think. Oh gosh.
I can't. It starts with a Z. I feel.
No,
like.
It's an S. SUZ.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Anyways, irrelevant. But you know, like you're chopping, you're doing whatever, and like the kids are coming by, and like with their hands and everything else. Like one of my like final destination like fears is like they're gonna bump it, and then the knives would just come off and just like stab them somewhere, and he's like sticking out their foot or something.
How about this? This is really interesting. I love this dynamic between me and you because your kids are a little younger, so you're dealing with things. I'm dealing with them like I feel like on a different scale because my kids are at the age where they want to help cook and they want to do the things and they want to cut up the apple or they wanted to, and I'm like, oh Jesus.
We were the wife was reading something about well just in general, right? You're like let's say you're like think about making pancakes, right? Something because let's be real, my baking skills are limited to about pancakes
and tacos. Well, that's not baking, but yes.
Yeah. But so like you're like. You can see how messy that can get just kind of on your own, like a cup of flour and cup of this and cup of so. But we were reading some study that said like kids that if you cannot get over that OCD in my mind, like the OCD of like the mess, and just let them kind of mess up and like in some cases you might have to just waste that batter and do it again. But the consistent training of a kid at a young age with trying to help while they might make a mess or again use like a knife that you're like supervising and everything else apparently like pays huge dividends in the long run as far as like they can be 7 and like there's kids just like literally running a kitchen. It's insane.
Yeah, I remember Booth was on here.
Gotta get over that.
That's
such
hard.
a struggle for me because I'm like that flour's going where? Everywhere? Okay, I'm gonna see that in my room upstairs on the 2nd floor.
Yeah.
So
it's tough, man.
Internally, I'm just struggling, but I'm like, yep, you can dump that into the bowl, and it doesn't make it, but
It's all over the counter and on the floor
just- you
and in the
got to.
grout and the like.
well, the thing that got me was we got friends that were like we're just like super consistent on like if you got food on your plate, you bring it, you go get like a Tupperware thing and you put it there because we don't just waste food. And the kid's like 3 and would go like have one chicken finger left, would go to the pantry, get like a Tupperware, put it there, and put it in the fridge. And I was like,
You can
how'd
train
you
them.
do that. And they're like, they're a lot
consistency.
smarter than you think.
You can
And
do
I'm
a
like,
lot of stuff. I let my kids do a lot of things, and I let them fail, and I let them screw up. I'll be like, hey, I wouldn't do that. And then they try to do it, and then they come crying to me about whatever happened. I'm like, well, I told you not to do that for a reason. And I can't just say, it's like there's things you just have to let them learn on their own. They're like, all right, he said that was going to happen. It happened. I should probably listen to him. Or they'll start to understand there was a cause and effect of like, oh, now they know for themselves that if this happens, then this happens.
Yeah.
And I think that makes them, it's more like street smarts, right? Like, well, what do you think is going to happen when you climb up on top of the counter and jump to the couch, but there's something there and da-da-da-da, like, you'll figure out physics on your own.
I was thinking about my kids have gotten a lot more involved with kind of climbing. The older boys, 3.5, they're just the boys in that climbing stage. I'm like, well, be mindful standing on that. It's probably not going to hold your weight. I'm telling you that it'll probably break and you're probably going to hurt yourself.
Well, go ahead. Figure it out for yourself.
Figure it out for yourself. I have warned you, child.
Uh-huh.
And then snap, crackle, pop, and you're like, I'm sorry you're hurt. Let's make sure you're okay. What did Daddy tell you? That I was gonna fall? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should think twice.
Here's what's, when the podcast we did with Dakota, and he talked about following through with spanking your kid, or maybe it wasn't spanking, but it was like reprimand. Like if you tell them you're going to do something, you better do it. Mm. And we've talked about this before too, but that by actually following through with that builds trust.
Yeah.
That daddy says he's going to do what he says he's going to do. So whether that's, I'm going to get spanked because I didn't listen, or if that's, hey, I'll be there for you if you need me. They trust that whatever you say is going to happen is going to happen.
I caught myself in that situation last night.
Same here, which is why I bring it up.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just like the kids Sunday, everyone's going crazy, cabin fever. I ended up finally getting them out of the house, but they were just wound up. Yeah. And we were trying to lay low because I've had like allergy issues in my throat, and I was just like, it's Sunday, I'm tired. We've been on the go for weeks.
It's cold for us.
It's cold finally, and it's like I just want to lay around and do nothing all day. I had a little bit of housework to do that I needed to get done, but let's just do nothing. Kids, they start going crazy. They start running through the house like maniacs chasing each other. I'm like, stop running through the house. Someone's going to get hurt, because I could see they were just being crazy about it, not like methodical at all. They were just being wild and crazy, screaming and running. I was like, stop running through the house. Someone is going to get hurt. Da 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 da. Well, like 6 minutes later, I hear screaming. And daddy, 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 mommy, daddy. And she's like walking back through the house, upset. And they had run into our bedroom. Kendall was chasing Cameron. Cameron slipped in the carpet somehow and like fell chest first onto the corner of our bed, like the bed, the footer. What does that call it? Foot end of the bed, the foot of the bed. Is that what they call that?
I think it is a header and a footer.
A header and a footer. I think of that as the website, is the header and the footer.
That's why I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, are we talking about the website? Or?
No, so the foot end of the bed. Anyway, so she's like big gash on her chest. She lifts up her shirt and like right on her chest, just giant gash. And it wasn't like deep, it was like surface scratch, but she's bleeding. I'm like, well, I told you not to do that. And I was like, I don't even feel bad. I told you not to do that. She's like, but I'm like, I told you not to do that. I don't know what to tell you. Don't do it again.
Well, I'll clean it up right now, but
and then something else happened. They were acting crazy later in the afternoon, and then they started acting up. They're doing backflips on the couch, all this kind of stuff, because I've got gymnasts, so like it's not just normal jumping. It's like backflips on the couch, and I'm like, oh my God,
I'd break my necks. Oh.
Yeah, it's freaky, but they're good at it, so it's kind of cool to watch. But I'm always like, stop doing that. You're gonna get hurt. Someone's gonna break a neck. Sure enough, someone gets hurt. Someone fell. They hit their head on the table or something. So I told them, I said not to do that. Now you're getting spanked. I made them both turn over on the couch and I smacked both their butts like 3 times, and I took turns. I was like, smack one, smack two, smack
Dragging
two.
it out.
Oh man. And it wasn't like I was like beating them, but it was like, I told you not to do this. Exactly. It's just getting attention. And to the point where like the first 1 or 2, they were laughing about it because they thought it was funny. And the third one I made a little harder to make my point. And then they were like upset and realized they were getting in trouble. And then because there's like, I have fun with them. Like I'll pick them up and put them on my shoulder and just kind of like smack their butts and like whatever. And it's fun and we're having fun and whatever. But I think they thought that was what was happening at first. So then I was like, no, you're getting in trouble right now.
I'm going to step this up.
And then the tears came because Brandy's like, are they laughing at you? And then they started crying. And she's like, oh. But I had to follow through with it because what Dakota said in that podcast I heard him say that throughout this scenario. And I was like, well, I told him I was going to spank him. Like, I need to spank him just to make a point to help build that trust. And anyways.
Yeah, you got even on the rewarding side, it's
of course.
Like if we did some family photos to get ready for the holidays and everything else, just something real quick. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, if you guys do really good, like they're still at an age where it's like I'm gonna kind of do the whole reward system.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So like, hey, we're all gonna go get donuts.
Have to do that with
we're all
gonna
go get donuts if y'all behave, do it. And they were awesome. So I was like, better follow through. And then I was like, there better be donuts, or just something like, hey, if you guys do this, I'm gonna we'll read books. And then they did it, and then they're starting to act up, and I'm like, well, I can't really renege on what I said, so like let's please calm down so I can follow through on what I said, just because you got to be consistent.
It's tough, man. That's one of the hardest things, like you said, because they do the good thing to get the reward, and then they start acting bad, and you're like, whoa, wait, I'm not going to reward the bad behavior, but you did do the thing I asked you to do. So like, how do you? It's so hard. It's such a balancing act. I feel like you're in a circus half the time.
Yeah,
it's out of control. Anyways, let's talk about the wife spot for a second and how ridiculous that was, since we brought that up earlier. If you guys have not listened to the Wife Spot podcast, go listen to that. That is some real shit. It is so funny. And it's the stuff that every mother goes through and wants to say out loud, but doesn't say. And not even mother, but even fathers too, parents in general. But
it's like you see, like, just for example, you see this stuff online, and it's like, look at these family photos. Y'all look so put together and everything else. It's like, yeah, but that was probably one photo of about 1,000 that was taken because everyone else was losing their what. So it's like, it's real life.
It's so funny.
Just real life.
Don't listen to it with your kids. It's gangster. So funny though. Holidays are coming up. By the time you guys hear this, the Veterans Day sale is ending tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So you guys will hear this on Tuesday. The Veterans Day sale ends on Wednesday. It's 25% off everything on the website. No coupon code needed. Just an automatic 25% off. And that's been a popular sale this year. And it's bigger than Black Friday. So if you catch this before the end of it, you can get 25% off.
Mm-hmm. You wanted Veterans Day to be bigger than Black Friday?
Yeah, buddy. What are you guys doing for Christmas? You guys got any Christmas plans? And you just sticking around here? You don't really travel anywhere.
Thankfully, my family's here. Yeah, so we'll do Thanksgiving here. We'll do Christmas here. The wife and I will get away in January. Go do some skiing.
Oh, cool.
Should be fun. Actually,
I need to take Brandy somewhere. She wants to go see this thing she had on the calendar, like the 18th or 19th, I think, in New York. She's been begging me for like 2 years to do it, but I don't think I have enough time to make that happen. But that'd be fun.
But yeah,
I don't know what we're doing.
For better or worse, like,
I think
it's certainly nice. Like, I mean, the idea of having to do all the family travel with all the kids around the holiday season and all the extra stuff that you just have to lug when it's winter coats and all that. I don't think
we've talked about this on the podcast because this is not something we covered yet.
Are you talking about like Christmas mornings?
Yeah, dude. F that. Like, for real. Everybody, like, we got to the point. All right, so all of our family's here, but for some reason, none of our family ever wanted to come to our house. And it was like, oh, bring the kids over Christmas morning. And then we end up spending all day Christmas driving from house to house to house to house to house to house. And the kids didn't get to open their own Christmas presents under their own tree and play with them. They were just like, all right, well, we got to pack you back up in the car and move on to the next house. And then it was like open presents, spoil them for an hour, and then and eat, and then pack them up and go to the next house. It was like 6 houses every time for Christmas until they were like 3 or 4 years old. And I got to the point where I was like, I'm not doing this. If you guys want to see the kids on Christmas, you can come to our house.
Yeah.
This is Christmas. They're kids. I want them to be able to open their presents and just play the rest of the day.
Do whatever. Yeah. Just enjoy
and I'm going to hang out. I'm going to drink coffee all day long in my pajamas and do nothing. And I'm going to put batteries in toys, and I'm going to cut Barbies out of boxes, and that's what I'm going to do.
And figure out where you're going to put all that wrapping paper.
Yeah, because it just throws off everyone's schedules, and then everyone gets cranky because they've been to house to house to house, and then they start expecting to, every time they go to a house, they get a present. And all, like, no, I hate that. It pisses me off. So now everyone comes to my house if they want to see the kids, and then we go to my grandparents' house. We do dinner.
We do Christmas, like afternoon Christmas dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do the same thing for Thanksgiving, but our kids. This will probably be the first year where they kind of grasp much more of the whole presents under
Max
a tree.
and Nico, at least. Anders, this will be the first year he probably gets to
that guy parrots like it's no one's business. It's crazy.
You gotta be careful with him, huh?
Yeah, he's just like so much further along than the twins were, just because he sees them do things. Like he's like building like out of Legos and everything else now, and I'm like, wow, it took like the twins but they had no like it was just me as the example, you know what I mean? So now he just stares, and watch, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But so
and
this
Kendall
will be the
picked
first.
up a lot from Cameron that way too.
Yeah, so. We won't have to get. We'll probably hang out at our house just a hair longer, but I could definitely see as your kids start to get 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like you don't want to just be lugging them around everywhere.
Hell no.
Let them enjoy that morning, relax, and then more relaxed for you.
Yeah, and my kids now are at the age where they just go outside and play on their own and go ride their bike and do things. And I'm like, well, I'll just holler for you, or I'll jump on the golf cart and come find you. Man, that's nice when they get to that age. Yeah, like just go outside.
They're just now starting to. Like I always play with them. I'm willing, like I'll let them hang out by them, like play by themselves, so they develop that they don't have a crutch that a parent's always involved with them. But with working so much to it, like I've been balancing. Like I want to be around. Like if they're building with magnets, I'll do that. But then like I'll kind of start to sneak away if they seem really involved, to like be able to play on their own. And like this weekend, I feel like it was that tipping point. They finally they went and hung out for like 2 hours in like the front room, like just playing with Legos and magnets. I was like, this is amazing.
Nice.
Like I didn't know what to do with my hands for like 2 hours. I was like, all right, nap's about to happen. Like, can I get involved with something? Do I just, I don't know what to do. Cause it's always been so
let
much.
Them go.
You give them like 30 minutes of attention, then they need you to kind of move on to the next task or whatever. I'm not going to let them just run around. They're still like, can't just let them go outside right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
a little young for
still trying to teach them about how to not run into traffic and everything else. But we're moving that way. It's exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. Ryan, what else is going on in the world that we should let these folks know about? Next time. Since we got Veterans Day. Well, yeah. Maybe next time, because I don't know what we have structured for that. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to end up doing a special like discount something for podcast listeners. So future episodes, look for or listen for some sort of discount code or something here in the podcast. We'll have to put that together. What? That I've got to discuss with him still. Ryan's talking about all the secret shit. I can't tell him about all that stuff yet, dude. What about, we have any good questions lately or anything? Or any topics, popular things that need to be brought to light? Not really. Okay. We got some t-shirts coming soon.
Yes.
That is going to be awesome. We got a bunch of different designs. How many designs did we do? Like 10? 9?
Yeah. Well, I think it's like 8 designs, but
multiple different colorways.
Multiple different colorways. Yeah.
So a bunch of apparel coming. That I'm really excited about that. T-shirts, a hat, lots of different options, men's, women's, etc. So we're excited about that. So stay tuned for that. That will be available soon, like
in a few weeks,
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
it'll be available for the holidays.
Yeah, but by December.
Yeah,
at the latest.
Yeah, you'll be able to get it in time for Christmas if you want to go down that route.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's about it. You got anything else you want to talk about?
I'm just glad my kids are finally not sick.
They were sick for a while.
Yeah,
I feel like I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks.
You haven't. we were traveling. Then my kids they came down with like there's I guess there's a virus going around that it's like they had a fever for like 5 days, and like thankfully it was never so hot that it was like having a
dangerous
high fever for 5 days straight that like burn up their brain kind of fever, you know.
But it was like 100.
But yeah, it was just like 100 and I think it got a little over 102 for a while there. So they just want to lay on you, and then so I had like 2 hot kids just like laying on me for like 4 days straight, and I'm just coughing in my face, and I'm like, all right, well, can't wait for me to catch it.
Sick. Yeah,
you know. But you just hate it. I mean, you just feel so helpless. So
it's awful. We've had, you know what? Speaking of that, this is something we struggled with even this morning, every single day. Brandy came back from dropping the kids off at school this morning, super upset because Cameron, our 8-year-old, is constantly trying to play hooky, to where it's like the boy that cried wolf. Like we just don't even believe her when she's sick, or we don't, because she's like waits to hear, like Kendall, who never says she's sick, who had like super bad double ear infections, and we didn't know about it because she never said like my ear hurts until her ears were bleeding. We're like, oh my God, what's wrong with your ear? She's like, oh, my ear hurts. I'm like, well, you should have said something. She's like, well, it just started to hurt. And then she ended up with tubes and all these different things, but like never says anything. Like she was super sick one time with like some, I don't know, whatever, but like she just never, she's just a gangster. And so when Kendall says she doesn't feel good, like there's a problem.
Yeah.
So this morning she's like, Mommy, my tummy hurts. I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on, because you don't ever complain about anything. Well, then Cameron, oh, me too. I don't feel good. I can't go to school today. I have a fever. All this stuff. Yada, yada, yada. And it's like every morning she finds something to latch onto as an excuse. Like I could cough, and then she'll be like, ooh, coughing. That's a good idea. I don't feel good. I can't go to school. And like every single morning.
How long has that been going on?
A couple months. But like by the afternoon, it's like Brandy has to put up a fight and be like, stop, you're going to school. Get your shoes on. We got to go. We're leaving right now. Yeah. And then they're complaining. And then it's, well, I have to go to the bed. And this is like procrastination of excuse after excuse. And then it just turns into screaming. It's like every morning ends with them leaving the house with everyone screaming at each other. And it's super stressful and it sucks. But that's where we're at in life. Like it's annoying, but so it's like, get your shoes on. We are leaving. I'm going to leave without you, but I can't leave without you because you need to go to school. Like, you know, and it's like, but then Brandy comes home upset a lot of mornings because she's like, it sucks that I like can't even believe her that she doesn't feel good, because when she actually doesn't feel good, I don't believe her. And then I'm maybe sending her to school sick, and I don't even know because I just don't trust that she'd, you know, and it sucks.
I wish I had some advice on that one. I don't.
You're going to deal with it too.
Well, I've already been starting to deal with like, well, I don't like that shirt. I'm like, well, this is a shirt you're putting on. And then you become into like, I feel like a hostage negotiator.
Yeah, you know? Dude.
But like, well, like you have to be like a hostage negotiator while being a clown. It's
Ryan,
like,
write that down. I want to do a hostage negotiation video with a kid. Go ahead.
You know, but it's like, so it's like, I'm trying to like quasi entertain you, distract you, be the enforcer, but I'm dealing with someone who's irrational, all bundled in one. So like this whole weekend, like even, you know, getting ready to go do the photo shoot. Well, I don't like that. It's a new shirt. My kid, like Max just hates change.
Right. He's a creature of habit.
Like the cat's 3 years old and it's still in a crib. And we're like, well, we'll actually just put him in like a, you know, like one of those half ones we can actually get in and out.
Yeah.
I don't like this. I can't sleep here. Dude, just this is the new bed. You're going to like it.
This is your new normal.
Oh, and it was just like, it's always something. He's like, well, this is a new shirt. I don't like it. well, this is what we're wearing. We're going to leave the house with it. Well, no, I'm not putting that on. So it's like, all right, how do I, find a way? I was like, oh, look, you got 3 buttons. Daddy has 3 buttons. Just whatever you can try to
give them something to like
latch
about
on, and
Yeah.
it's just constantly something. Actually, the wife came down because she was getting ready. She's like, how did you get all 3 kids to put that on? And I didn't hear any screaming. I'm like, I got skills.
Dude, I try to find the good in anything and make it fun and funny and exciting, or just divert their attention to something else. They're upset about this, and I'm like, look over here,
Exactly.
and they're like, ooh, that's fun.
That's-
and then all of a sudden it's like, diffuse that bomb, And I think
because it's just like it's an irrational thought.
Mm-hmm.
You like, I mean, you sometimes you try to hit it head on, or whatever that expression is. You know what I mean? Where it's like, like, this is the rule. This is what you're going to do, and then other times you're like, well, you're still going to put it on. Let's talk about the shiny blue object while we put on the t-shirt, or, whatever else. And then at the end of the day, like, see, you put on the shirt. I've also had it too.
I'll do
like,
stupid stuff. Like I'll try to put the shirt on and get it stuck on my head.
I got it stuck on my head.
And get them to laugh about it. And then
I'll be like, I'm going to take your shirt then. They're like, no, that's my shirt.
Yeah.
Like, get them to take ownership of it.
Complete distraction, and then make it fun and funny, and then all of a sudden it's fine.
What's awesome is I've literally
It's so
done
funny
that.
that-
I've gotten them in the car, and then like we'll be there, and they'll be like, wait, how did this shirt get on me? This isn't the shirt I want. We're already out in public. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
But
Meltdown round number 2.
exactly. Then you try to diffuse it that way. But I'd never go into bribery on that stuff. It's never like, oh, well, if you stop talking, we'll get a donut. It's like, that ain't going to happen because they'll pick up on that. It's, you have it on, or dad will be funny, at least attempt to be funny. But it's not going to be like, well, if you put this shirt on, you get. It's like, no, like, this is the clothing that you're wearing. You're going to wear it. Let's figure out a fun way to get you to do what I want you to do. So it becomes easier as you get older, but I never bribe them on that stuff. That's just where we draw the line.
We've been guilty of that more often than I should have been.
You'd like to admit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like sometimes it's just like picking the battles. He's just like,
I mean,
it's hard. It's so hard to be consistent at times. Whereas times you're like, I don't have it. I'm not fighting with this anymore. Like, if you put this on, something awesome will happen. Like, I just need you to do this because I need to move on with the day. I need to move on with our life. Like, we got things to do. Da 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 da.
I mean, we just sometimes. I mean, it's come down to where I'll put the shirt on, strap them in, and now they're obviously old enough to try to do the unbuckle. And I'm like, well, if you unbuckle that,
right,
we're putting you in timeout. If you do timeout twice, then you'll get spanked.
Yeah,
but just following through on that. But yeah, like I don't like the same with food. I'd be like, well, I don't like this. I'm like, well, it's not like if you eat 2 bites and then you get something else. It's like, well, eat your food and then you can get more bread, or whatever the scenario is. But it's like, I'm not changing that up or bribing them on that because they'll learn when they get hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Just ain't opening Pandora's box.
Ain't opening it.
You feel a little bit like, well, I could easily diffuse this situation by giving them this apple, but they've already had an apple and they need to eat their peanut butter and jelly. And guess what?
Yeah,
that's what's left.
We struggle with that one a lot. We don't give into that one. Like, no, you eat that.
Well, that and like myself or the wife, like, we're not shorter cooks, man. I'm sorry you don't like chicken fingers tonight.
That's what we're eating.
We're eating chicken fingers. Like, why is this a problem? Like, my kids were fighting me on pizza. I'm like, what?
That's sorry. Cameron. She'll fight you till she's blue in the face that she doesn't like pizza, and then she'll eat the pizza.
Oh yeah, for lunch.
Or it'll be like, I hate pizza, and then the cousins will be in town, and we'll like go to Giuseppe's, and she's like, wait for her cousin to order, and whatever her cousins order is what she wants to order because that's what kids do.
Yeah.
What is it? Pizza.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, you were just blue in the face telling me you weren't going to eat pizza, and now you just ordered a slice of pizza. I'll punch you in the mouth. Like, what? It's so frustrating.
Oh yeah, he was not having it. But I was like, well, that's what's on your plate there, dude. So,
yeah.
And if what happens, eventually starts eating it. So,
word. Cool. All right. Well, anyways.
Now that I'm like, man, what are we eating for lunch?
I know, right?
I'm starving. Maybe we'll get pizza.
That's pretty good. Cool. Guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this somewhat random episode here. Feels good to be back in the office, back home. This scene will be changing soon over the next few weeks as we move back into the other side of the building. Anyways, make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up and 5-star reviews and all the things. We would appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next video.